Hello, good afternoon. Thanks to all of you for coming to the last presentation of the day. I know everyone's trying to hurry out. It's beer o'clock, it's on a Thursday, but thank you all for taking the time to come here. My name is Justin Day, and I am the Managing Director of Cloud Gateway. So, a quick bit about me. I've spent my entire career in networking and network security. Predominantly for telcos, which has seen me lucky enough to work for many large organisations, notably in finance and in government. Now myself and my closest work colleague, the Cloud Gateway CTO, we made a very conscious effort to embrace cloud technologies early, and so we've spent several years growing our knowledge in this space. And where this has been especially interesting for us is that networking has always been considered a little bit dirty, and the cloud approach to networking has been no different. We thoroughly enjoyed becoming experts in that space, and whilst many of our friends and colleagues in other areas of IT try to remind us that networks are dead, I can assure you they are not, and in cloud there is no exception. So, Agile Networks. Well, that's an oxymoron, surely. You see, I've worked in networking my entire career, and like any good network alumni, I fiercely defend my networking brethren. We're blamed for everything, and we're rarely, if ever, at fault. Well, that's the party line we've always towed, and we're in no hurry to abandon. You see, I want to put to you that not only are networks not dead, they're not dying. They're evolving, and we can make them agile, and I'm going to tell you how. To evolve, we need to take stock of where we are, and more recently where we've been. It's not the prettiest of pictures. For many years, line speeds have felt like they're behind our requirements. Whether it's your home broadband or your business MPLS, we've been playing catch up for far too long. By the time DSL landed, we needed fibre. By the time that 100 megabits per second bearer got installed on your MPLS, we needed a 1 gigabits per second bearer. Then there's the cost. The cost was prohibitive. The cost is still prohibitive. Not too long ago, I was told a story of how the ideal price point for a telco was to charge £1,000 per megabits per second per year. That would see a 1 gigabits per second pipe come in at £1 million. Obviously ridiculous. And of course, the 90 days. Who doesn't know about the 90 days? Just about anyone in IT who's required a network connection has fallen foul of the dreaded 90 days. It's going to take at least 90 days. And let's be under no illusion, that's a quick turnaround. When you introduce things like wayleaves, complexity, and other such complication, that can quickly spiral to the better part of 100, 150, even 200 days. So is it any wonder then that networking carries such disdain? Can we kill it? Can we get rid of it altogether? Well, of course, no. And that's not just because I'm here representing my network brothers. It's absolutely here to stay. And what we need to do is some reputational healing. Now, we can start that by looking at what this theatre is all about. SD-WAN and NFV. Technologies that will, rightfully so, preach a level of simplicity that networking has not often afforded its consumer. By definition, they make the problems of old a thing of the past. The elements of exorbitant cost and time to provision can vanish into thin air. What these technologies have started to give us is additional levels of control. No longer do we need to lean on the writing of proprietary script. We can finally be free from the shackles of understanding the language of each individual vendor, because, as we know, the major vendors love a bit of code, and only their equipment can operate it. open standards through networking is an agenda, and it's one that looks to finally be enforced. We can use everything we've learned in our previous lives as an overlay by which we can tick the appropriate boxes, highlight the necessary radio buttons, and pull the slider to where we need it in order to create everything we need. Now, I may be oversimplifying that as these technologies are still maturing, but the shift is momentous and we cannot ignore it. So, does this simply make our networks agile? No. Can a network even dream of being agile? And what is agile? The A word seems to get everywhere. Well, let's turn to the good old OED. The Oxford English Dictionary description of the word agile is quick and well coordinated in movement, or lithe. You see, I'd say that's a pretty accurate description of the word flexible as well. And for anyone that saw my presentation yesterday on multi-cloud strategy, you'll notice a theme in my messaging. You see, SD-WAN and NFV alone are not enough for us to make our network agile. There's still a fundamental part of the network that they do not account for: infrastructure. Now, infrastructure could be one of many mediums supplied in many ways. The easy go-to nowadays is, of course, the internet. Everything's on the internet, and I can access all of the resources I require in the most expedient and secure way. Said and says no business ever. There are a number of infrastructure approaches that benefit businesses in many ways, and traditionally bringing all of these together has been the biggest problem. Why can I not just use commodity broadband? Because we're locked into a contract with insert telco provider here. Can I guarantee an SLA on my internet link? Well, no, unless we get some sort of contract with everyone in the world. Well, what happens if I'm mobile? Well, and again, does that change if I end up back at one of my home sites? Well, it does depend, and this is all secure, right? Well, yes, I mean, it is secure, but yeah, because the internet scares me. And I read this book, this is 80-20 rule, and apparently 80% of everything comes from inside my network. Stop. Rewind. Many approaches, many concerns, many requirements, many points of view. I think we have a proven point that infrastructure is still entirely necessary and can still present many perils, or indeed worries to us. The internet is still pipes, conduits, wires, and the like. It isn't our only answer though. But in order for us to be agile, we need to be flexible. And in order for us to be flexible, we need to provide an infrastructure that lends itself to any requirement. Networks can be agile, and networks will be agile. The shift in the marketplace is towards a flexibility that allows for this to happen. Where a telco used to be the only option, especially for enterprise, there are now many SMEs that can provide multiple infrastructure choices. Those SMEs may have been about for some time, but a shift in risk appetite means that they're now being considered more seriously. If we can lay the roads and allow our businesses and enterprises to be flexible, how can we improve on this? And this brings us back to why we're here. SD-WAN and NFV are the maturing technologies that allow us to put that next layer of flexibility on top. With infrastructure secured, we can build technologies on top that allow us to make decisions rapidly across a multitude of platforms and with the decision-making left in the hand of the customer. The Agile Network. How does this all look? You see, it's about those layers. We need to understand all of the potential mediums we could use and bring them together seamlessly. My roads, 3G, 4G, 5G, home broadband, business broadband, MPLS, satellite, and yes, the internet. Any private or public source, it shouldn't matter. Then we build our layer of intelligence on top. We leverage the emerging capabilities of the SD market. We build in security and visibility. We don't neglect our commitment to protecting or providing the capability to protect against cyber threats. And we use those tools to help us improve our visibility and thus make better decisions on how to be proactive as well as reactive. We provide the Agile Network. We lay the foundations for businesses to be able to act fast, be secure, be flexible. Agility is flexibility, and flexibility is my key message. See, I alluded to the fact that I was talking about this yesterday when I was in my multi-cloud strategy presentation, and for those of you who didn't attend, I built my approach to multi-cloud strategy on flexibility. I built it on laying the roads, as we've discussed here, in order to move forwards. Strong infrastructure, strong approaches to networking, and an understanding of why we wanted to move forwards into cloud. It sounds so simple, but I truly believe that if we get the basics right, we open up a very, very positive Pandora's box. When you can wipe out the traditional blockers and allow businesses to trial and error, to move forwards and backwards, to look in all directions, and to achieve this using all of the benefits that cloud can allow them, then we've achieved true flexibility. And we are agile, starting from the ground up, our Agile Network. So, this didn't go so well yesterday. I tried to get a little bit of audience participation and I got absolutely nothing. So, it is the last one of the day. Please at least get involved in this. I've got a few questions that I'd like to put to you guys. If the answers are truly no and you don't want to put your hand up, then let's go with that. So, bit of MI for me as well. First question, by a show of hands, who here feels that they currently have an Agile Network? They represent a business that has an Agile Network. Yeah, you can have that one. I'm expecting no's. That's good. Right, so let's move to the second question. Who here feels that they are in train in moving towards the provision of an Agile Network? Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. Audience participation, so much better than yesterday. Excellent. So, a few. So if we took a percentage, we're still down at about 10, 20%. And you may actually disagree with what my version of an Agile Network is. That's obviously your description of an Agile Network. Okay, this one's probably, I'm expecting to see more hands. How many of you are currently, or have currently embarked upon a digital transformation? Yeah, this I'm not surprised by, digital transformation being a wonderful piece of marketing hype. Question 4, don't worry, this, I'm not going to keep you for long, the Bex and Exit are still waiting. For those that said they were doing something with a digital transformation, have you hit a roadblock where the network was considered the issue or fault? Oh, one person. I can assure you it absolutely wasn't. As I said earlier, networks don't cause any problems. So don't give the guy a hard time. It's definitely not him. And one more. This is an interesting one. It's certainly interesting for me. Has anybody proceeded in their digital transformation where they've actually had to roll back to a pre-transformation state? And that's maybe not so much a network question. That could be infrastructure, it could be servers, it could be storage. You know, just a feeling that you've actually gone forward and then actually had to roll back. One? Okay. I say that's interesting for me because not many people usually are honest and say this, but we have actually experienced talking to a few companies where there has actually been that kind of a desire to move forwards, and it has resulted in having to actually move back into on-premise networks, which has been quite costly and required a rethink of strategy. So Thank you. Thank you for attending the last presentation of the day, making me feel very popular, at least. Have you got any Q&A? Again, none yesterday. Please entertain me with at least one question, so we can go forward. One person, one question. I'm going to pick people out if you don't. So, yeah, it's no good looking down. No, really? Well, I must have done a bang-tidy job. So thanks ever so much for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed being here, being at this presentation. I'd really, really encourage you to come over to our stand, C1824. We've got a caricature guy there who's absolutely brilliant. And of course, the product he's sitting in front of is amazing as well. Thank you so much.